Revealed, the incredible fortune I hid at my daughter's wedding after her touching, broke, speech. The sun shone bright over the small town of Elmwood, casting a golden hue on the churchyard where everyone had gathered. Joe, a humble mechanic with hands that bore the scars of hard work and a heart full of love, stood nervously at the entrance. Today was the day he'd walk his daughter Lucy down the aisle, a moment he had dreamt of since the day she was born. But as excitement pulsed around him, an undercurrent of anxiety twisted in his gut. He watched as Lucy glided down the aisle, a vision in white, her smile bright yet tinged with something he couldn't quite place. The laughter, the clinking glasses, and the music created a symphony of joy, but behind each smile lay the shadows of student loans, rising costs, and job insecurities that threatened to drown their dreams. As Lucy stood before the congregation, her voice trembled slightly but soon filled the air. "I've always been told I could achieve anything. But the truth is, I've felt like a burden to my dad, especially with the weight of student loans looming over me." The room held its breath, her words were raw, piercing through the festive veil. "I want to make him proud but I don't know if I can." Each word hung heavy in the air, and as Joe listened, an overwhelming pride swelled in his chest, intertwining painfully with guilt. Had he been so focused on earning a living that he hadn't noticed the weight she carried? Did all his sacrifices mean she felt less like a daughter and more like a financial liability? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The celebration rolled on, laughter and music drowning out his spiraling thoughts. Yet, within him, Joe wrestled with a secret, a hidden fortune he had stashed away for Lucy, a nest egg meant to catch her if she ever stumbled. Should he reveal it? Would it help her find strength, or would it snuff out the flame of resilience he so desperately wanted her to have? Just then, the door creaked open, letting in a chill that sent shivers down his spine. An unexpected guest, an old army buddy with a hard gaze and history, stepped in, eyes scanning the room. Joe's heart raced. Would this man dredge up old insecurities, challenge his worth? Suddenly, the joyous laughter faded into a tense hum. The weight of unresolved judgments hung thick in the air. Joe felt caught in an emotional whirlwind between love and the chains of pride. Lucy twirled and laughed with her new husband, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing. But Joe's heart-pounded decisions loomed like shadows over the happily shared moments. As beautiful dance moved through the evening, Joe stood there, watching, ready to face the ghosts that haunted him, wondering if he could finally unveil the blessings he'd kept hidden for too long. Joe's mind raced, tugging at the edges of his thoughts like a kite caught in a windstorm. He wanted to free Lucy from her burdens, to show her that she was anything but a weight. Yet the fear of how she might perceive his gesture loomed larger than the very fortune he had tucked away. As he watched her dance, joy radiating from her, he couldn't help but think how desperately he wanted her to thrive. The laughter of her friends swirled around him, a beautiful cacophony that echoed in his ears. But deep down, Joe's heart beat a different rhythm. It was a song of worry and love intertwined. The unexpected guest remained at the back of the room, a shadow amongst the happiness. As the music played, Joe stole glances, recalling the years spent serving together in the military. They had shared stories and dreams, but they'd also confronted fears that could silence even the loudest celebrations. What would this man say? Would he bring memories that Joe had buried or insights that would open up old wounds? "Dad." Lucy's bright voice broke through his spiral of thoughts. She approached, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "Come dance with me." The laughter around him seemed to dim as he struggled with a smile. He didn't want to appear distant, especially on her day. He stepped toward her and took her hand, feeling her warmth seep into his skin, pushing away the chill. As they swayed, he caught more than just her smile. He sensed her vulnerability, the way she leaned into him as if searching for security in the whirlwind around them. "You okay, Dad?" she whispered, concern etched in her features. "Yeah, sweetheart. just lost in thought. Their moment shifted as another song played, and Lucy reflected back on her speech. I meant every word, you know. I love you, Dad. This journey is mine, but I want to share it with you, not have you carry it. The sincerity in her words struck to Joe's core. How had he let her feel this way? Lucy, how could he find the right words to express his emotions, the mix of pride and guilt? He hesitated, torn between opening his heart and the fear of overwhelming her. Before he could respond, the army buddy approached, a confident stride carrying him through the crowd. Joe, he said, extending his hand, an old bond re-emerging amidst the festivities. There was weight behind his gaze, a challenge mixed with the warmth of familiarity. Been a long time, huh? Yeah, too long, Mark. The tension in Joe's chest tightened again, the vulnerability of the moment shifting to curiosity. Mark had always been straightforward. He spoke his truth, a quality Joe had admired. How would he confront Joe now? Sharing his thoughts about Lucy and the fortune would be just the trigger needed to expose insecurities that had lay dormant for too long. As laughter echoed and swirling lights danced around them, Joe felt a fire ignite within him. Maybe it was time to stop hiding, not just the fortune he clung to, but the hidden pieces of himself. Today could be the day he truly opened up, both to his daughter and to his past. What do you say we step outside for a minute? Joe asked Mark suddenly, feeling the gravity of what lay ahead. Sure, let us talk, Mark replied, a flicker of intrigue igniting in his eyes. As they stepped into the crisp evening air, Joe looked back at Lucy, who was enveloped in laughter with her new husband. The affection on her face melted some of his fears, but a deeper question loomed: would sharing his secret change everything? The cool breeze washed over him, lifting a veil of uncertainty. With every second, he felt a stirring. Ready or not, it was time to face the truth. And as the door closed behind him, he wondered if this confrontation could lead to more than just revelations. Perhaps it would spark a transformation for both of them. What truth awaited as Joe took a deep breath and faced old demons? Joe inhaled deeply, the sharp air filling his lungs with a hint of clarity. He turned to face Mark, whose expression was inscrutable, an unreadable mask from years gone by. The familiar weight of their shared past hung between them, but the anticipation of the moment brought an almost electric charge. Let us sit. Joe gestured toward a bench just outside the venue. The sounds from the wedding bled into the night, a mix of distant laughter and soft music, all under the stars that seemed to twinkle with equal parts joy and tension. Mark settled in beside him, leaning slightly forward, his posture a blend of curiosity and concern. So, how's life treating you? Joe struggled to grasp for the mundane pleasantries that felt so trivial compared to the fire in his chest. He knew he needed to say something significant. It's good, I mean, Lucy's getting married, and everything is change. Yeah, that's a big step, Mark replied, eyes narrowing. You've taken on a lot since we were in the field together. That's an understatement. Joe chuckled but felt the bitterness choke the laughter. Sometimes I feel like I'm still marching in formation, but I don't know who's leading anymore. A knowing look passed between them. They had both felt lost at some point. Mark shifted. You're a good father, Joe. But you know your worth isn't just tied to your role as her dad. What's gnawing at you? Joe's heart raced. How could he explain the burden he carried without revealing everything? It's just I worry. About Lucy. About the future. It's like, there's this huge fortune I've kept hidden, and it's not just about the money. It's about me feeling I need to protect her from the world's weight. Are you talking about the money you never mentioned? Mark's voice had dropped to something softer, more serious. Hasn't that been eating at you? Joe clenched his jaw. Yeah. But it's about more than just wealth. It's fear. Fear of what it might do to her. It's easier to carry something alone than to share it and risk it blowing up in my face. Sometimes the hardest truth is the one that can set you free, Mark offered, leaning back thoughtfully. Look, I know you back in the service, you never let a brother down. But you're not a soldier here. This isn't a battlefield. Joe's chest felt tight. I don't want Lucy to see me as weak. If I tell her, I worry it'll change our relationship. I've sheltered her, and I've made her feel like she has to be strong on her own. Mark nodded slowly, respect hovering in his gaze. You can still be her strength without carrying her load. You're doing her a disservice if you think keeping secrets will help her. Kids need to know they're not alone in this world. Joe hesitated, grappling with the distance between their current reality and the future of vulnerability and connection he yearned for. Trusting her with this part of him felt like a leap off a cliff without a parachute, but as he watched the waves of laughter and love spilling from the reception hall, he felt the slightest nudge of hope inside him. Beautiful chaos surrounded them, and it wasn't just the wedding. This was family, resilience, unmarred joy. And yet, he knew that it was the honesty, hard as it was, that could pave the way for true transformation. Do you think she'd understand? Joe asked, his voice low, caught between fear and desperation. Joe, Mark said, his tone steady, you've got to find out. The words echoed like a small drum beat in Joe's heart. It was time to face his own demons. He needed to reveal the truth that had haunted him for years, the fortune and its ties to his own feelings of inadequacy. As he turned back towards the light of the reception, he felt the weight shift ever so slightly, a flicker of determination beginning to overshadow his doubt, and then it hit him: what if sharing everything wasn't the end of his relationship with Lucy but a new beginning? The very thought kindled something deep within, a sense of possibility mingling with his fear. Could he face the truth without losing her? The night felt charged with more than just celebration now, it buzzed with potential. Would they soar together through honesty, or would this revelation fracture everything they knew? Joe took a breath, ready to step into the warmth of both love and truth, not knowing yet how far it might take him. Would this act of bravery open a door or simply lead them into uncharted territory? The music swelled as Joe stepped closer to the reception hall. The moment felt electric, almost as if the universe was holding its breath. Waves of laughter crashed against him, and the energy of love and celebration resonated in the air like an anthem. But amid that joy, anxiety filled his chest. Joe looked back at Mark, who now stood with a supportive nod, as if sensing the brewing storm inside him. Are you coming? Mark prompted, glancing toward the glowing party. Joe exhaled, his thoughts racing. Yeah, just give me a minute. He stepped away, seeking a moment of silence amidst the vibrant crowd, his feet carrying him toward a quiet corner where he could gather his thoughts. Each pulse of the music resonated a familiar rhythm, in his heart a steady beat of responsibility and fear. What would happen if he spoke up? Would it fracture the fragile world he had built for Lucy? For years, he had stood like a fortress against life's harsh winds, refusing to let her see the cracks. But was that still the right approach? The voices of guests drifted to him, snippets of laughter and heartfelt toasts, moments celebrating Lucy's new start with the man she loved. Joe felt an uncontainable ache in his heart. She deserved the world. She deserved truth. As he forced himself to take a step back into the reception, he caught Lucy's elegant silhouette, standing confidently amid her friends. Her face beamed with a mixture of joy and nervous excitement. In that moment, he caught a glimpse of the woman she had become, a strong, capable person, ready to embrace life. And yet, she was still his little girl. The war within him intensified. Joe made his way to the center of the room, drawn to the laughter that bubbled up to the ceiling like a radiant halo. He noticed her smile fade slightly as she caught his eye. It was a fleeting question, a quick flicker of concern about what was brewing behind his stern expression. Dad? Her voice brought him crashing back to the moment, grounding him in that sea of faces, where joy glimmered like stars in the night sky. Can I say something? He announced, his voice unintentionally booming over the music. Heads turned, eyes locked onto him. Lucy's expression morphed from concern to surprise and then to a warm, slightly anxious smile. Of course. Just don't embarrass me too much. Laughter erupted, easing some tension in his chest. He took a deep breath. I want to talk about something I've kept hidden for too long. The laughter faded, replaced by curious murmurs. Lucy, I've always wanted to protect you, and in doing so, I've shielded you from truths I thought might weigh you down. For that, I'm really sorry. It was never about you not being strong enough or deserving enough. It was my fear talking. He paused, grasping for the courage to continue. The room felt impossibly still, as if time had momentarily slipped away. There is a fortune. I've been sitting on a different kind of wealth, really. One that isn't just about money but about my own insecurities and fears. The words flowed more freely now, each one lifting the weight of silence surrounding him. I kept it to myself, thinking I could spare you the burden. But I see now that you need to know the truth about your father, about who I am and what I've been too afraid to show you. Keeping secrets doesn't protect you, Lucy. It robs us of our connection. Tension crackled in the air. The fleeting wonder in Lucy's eyes transformed to something deeper, something profound that encouraged him. Life is too precious for shadows. I want you to know you'll never walk alone, even when the road gets bumpy. You are strong enough to face anything, and I need to trust you enough to let you in. The atmosphere shifted, whispers floated around the hall. He watched his daughter's face blend confusion with understanding. The bond between them felt alive and raw, a mixture of vulnerability and hope hanging in the air, ready to ignite. He finished, his heart racing, breathless from the leap he had taken. So here I am, with all my fears and truths laid bare. Whatever lies ahead, I hope we can navigate it together. Around him, the world spun slowly, anticipation thick in the air, as he waited for Lucy's reaction. Would she embrace this new chapter or recoil from it? Then, with courage drawn from her father's revelation, Lucy stepped forward, her eyes brighter than ever. "Dad," she began softly, but the gravity of her response was cut short as the music surged back, drowning her words, and leaving both of them dangling on the precipice. What would she say next? How would this earthquake of honesty reshape not only their relationship but her future? As the music thumped in the background, Lucy's mouth moved, but the words dissipated into the noise swirling around them like confetti in the air. Joe felt like he was holding his breath, suspended in that moment between fear and hope. He leaned in, straining to catch what she had begun to say. "Dad, but just as he thought he'd grasped her intention, the celebratory atmosphere snapped back into focus. Guests returned to their conversations, laughter rising to a crescendo, and Joe felt his heart sink a little deeper. The moment slipped away, leaving him in a fog of anticipation. He watched Lucy, her demeanor shifting like the light, a flicker of confusion igniting to determination. She stepped back slightly, scanning the room filled with family and friends celebrating her love. The light in her eyes dimmed momentarily as she took in the reality where her father had laid bare his vulnerabilities, and she was left grappling with the weight of it. "Can we talk?" Lucy finally said, her voice a tremor but strong enough to cut through the din. Joe nodded, heart racing. "Yeah, let us step outside." As they moved away from the crowd, Joe felt eyes follow them. He took a deep breath, hoping this conversation might bring clarity, for both of them. The cool evening air greeted them like a soothing balm, and he led her to a quiet nook just off the patio, where tonight's glow softened their shadows. "What just happened in there?" Lucy started, her brows knitting together. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "About everything?" Joe rubbed the back of his neck, the words catching in his throat. "I thought I was protecting you, by keeping my struggles hidden. I wanted you to focus on your bright future without worrying about your old man's mess. But I see how wrong that was. My fear held me captive, and I thought that by shielding you, I was helping." Lucy's expression shifted to understanding. "But you put that weight entirely on your shoulders," she responded gently. "You didn't really need to do this alone. You could have trusted me with that with you." "I know," Joe admitted, his voice breaking. "I was scared. Scared of breaking the image you had of me. Scared of showing you how flawed I am." Lucy took a step closer, determination washing over her face. "Flawed is real. Being perfect isn't, Dad, you're still my father, my hero. You don't have to keep me on a pedestal. I want to know all of you, the good and the bad." Joe felt a warmth blooming inside him, but it's shadowed by a twinge of anxiety. "Then there's something you really need to hear, something else I've hidden." What is it? Her eyes widened, curiosity mingling with caution. I've been saving something for you, he said, swallowing hard. Something I always intended to pass on, but I was waiting for the right moment. What do you mean? He hesitated, grappling with the weight of his next words. It's not just about my fears but also about the life I've built, the choices I've made for your future. I thought I was taking on the burden alone, but it's time you know the full story. As he spoke, he saw a flicker of surprise cross her features, then it transformed into anticipation. What are you talking about? She pressed, leaning forward with intrigue. It's about more than just money, Lucy. It's about the legacy I've built, the mistakes I've made along the way. It's time to bring those shadows into the light. Before he could say more, a group of guests spilled out onto the patio, laughter trailing behind them, breaking the intensity of their moment. Joe looked at Lucy, who seemed frozen in wonder, her eyes wide, processing everything. Let us go back inside, she finally murmured, collecting herself. He sensed the change, her courage rekindled by their conversation. But there was a new weight, an impending revelation hung in the air between them, thickening with each passing second. As they stepped back into the hall, Joe's heart raced, not just from fear, but from a flicker of hope. Would this night become a turning point? Would their shared truth lead to deeper connections? What happens now? Lucy whispered, the spark in her eyes mixed with curiosity and trepidation. And with that, the music surged around them again, blurring their thoughts, as the dance of frenetic emotions began anew, leaving Joe to wonder just how far honesty would take them. What secrets were yet to be unraveled? The hall buzzed with a blend of chatter and laughter, shifting back into the rhythm of celebration, but for Joe and Lucy, the moment felt like an island of silence surrounded by waves of noise. He watched as guests danced, immersed in joy, while his heart raced at the thought of what he was on the brink of, sharing a truth he had held too tightly for too long. Are you okay? Lucy's voice broke through the haze, drawing him back to her. Her brow was slightly furrowed, concerned, eyes searching his face for answers. I want to make sure I get this right, Joe said, gathering his thoughts. He inhaled deeply, letting the layered sounds of the party fade into the background. There's so much I owe you, Lucy. Things I should have faced a long time ago. What do you mean? She asked, tilting her head slightly, urging him to continue. He hesitated, fighting the urge to retreat into the protective shell he had built for himself. I thought about all the struggles I faced, how I could have shielded you from them. But real strength isn't about facing everything alone. I see that now. Lucy nodded, urging him on. And the legacy? The one you mentioned out on the patio? What is it? Joe placed his hands on her shoulders, grounding himself in the moment. It's not just a financial legacy. It's a tangled history filled with mistakes, lost opportunities, and untold dreams. I thought I could overcome it myself, but I realize now I have to share it. You deserve to know. As he spoke, Lucy's expression shifted from confusion to understanding, capturing the weight of his revelations. Just tell me, Dad. I can handle it. He took a breath. A few years back, I got into some financial trouble. I tried to fix it on my own, thinking I could shield you from the fallout. I ended up taking on serious debts. I should come clean to you. But I was terrified of ruining your life, your dreams. Tears glimmered in her eyes, but she held them back. So, what does that mean for us? For me? I've been working on a plan. I paid off most of it, but there are still a few things hanging over me. I've been saving up, trying to create something for you, a safety net. I just didn't want you to see me as anything less than what I thought you deserved. Lucy inhaled sharply, processing layers of emotion. You thought keeping this from me would help? You should be known I could handle it. I want us to face things together. His heart soared with her words, and still a heavy weight anchored it down. That's exactly what I want too, Lucy. I want us to build something together, not apart. Then let us do that. She exclaimed, her voice rising above the din of the celebration. The confidence in her tone filled him with warmth. This was what he had yearned for, true connection, the openness he had been too afraid to reach for. Right here, right now? Joe asked, half joking, but his heart beat in rhythm with the sincerity in her eyes. All of it. Let us talk, really talk. I'm here for you, Dad. You don't have to hide anymore. Joe's defenses thinned, and he nodded, the pulse of hope strong within him. You're wise beyond your years, kiddo. Before he could spiral deeper into emotion, the atmosphere shifted, a group of guests spilling closer, including her fiancé, Jake. Joe felt an urge to pull back the cloak of his burdens again, but Lucy stood firm. Everyone deserves to know the truth, right? She whispered, smirking playfully, the weight lifting just a fraction. Joe chuckled at her bravery, thrilled by the spark of adventure in her spirit. Yeah, I guess I should start sharing my secrets. Maybe I owe Jake a story or two as well. Definitely, she teased, her infectious laughter cutting through the apprehension. Let us show everyone just how crazy this family can be. As they moved back toward the crowd, Joe felt a renewed sense of lightness. They were stepping into the unknown together, unveiling truths that could reshape their world entirely, but as he glanced over Lucy's shoulder, something caught his eye, a framed picture on a nearby table, familiar yet somehow haunting. It was from a past long buried, and suddenly, a thread of uncertainty tugged at his heart. What other elements of his hidden life could emerge? Joe and Lucy drifted back into the thrumming crowd, but his mind was anchored to that picture. His heart raced, memories swelling like a rising tide, each wave crashing down harder than the last. The photo depicted a younger version of himself, a time when hope bloomed and potential sparkled in every choice. The laughter and chatter of the guests faded into a distant hum, and the clinking glasses felt like far-off echoes. Lucy's hand gripped his tightly, pulling him back to the present. Dad? You all right? Yeah, he replied slowly, glancing back at the photo. Just something I need to think about. It's about more than just debts, Lucy. It's about choices that led to where we are. Choices that could change everything. What do you mean? Her brows knitted together, concern and curiosity flooding her voice. Taking a deep breath, Joe gestured toward the picture. That was a time when I was trying to build a different life. I had dreams, big ones. But life took a turn I never expected. The vulnerability in his words hung palpably between them. Lucy squeezed his hand, her eyes shimmering with understanding. What happened? It's okay to share. I can take it, I promise. He chuckled nervously, the sound a mix of relief and sorrow. Life's messy. I was involved in a business venture that, well, it went under. I thought I was invincible at that age. Turns out, I was just a kid playing adult. As he spoke, the swirl of celebration faded around them, their own bubble forming as the reality of his words settled heavily in the air. I threw everything into that venture, he continued, his voice softer. I lost friends, savings, and more. And in the fallout, I lost sight of what truly mattered: my family, my relationship with you. Tears pooled in Lucy's eyes. You didn't lose me, Dad. I'm still here. You just forgot to let me in, didn't you? Joe nodded, shame washing over him like a cold wave. I thought I was protecting you, but I see now that I was pushing you away. When things went south, I isolated myself. I spent too long pretending I could fix it all alone. She leaned in closer, her warmth enveloping him. We can fix it together, you know? But you have to tell me what you really want. What's in that box of secrets? Okay. He took a deep breath, steadying himself for the plunge. There's more to my finances than just debts. Some of it is tangled with that business failure. And there's a chance I could reclaim part of what I lost. I've been working on it, but I didn't want to bring you into the chaos, into those dreams. Would you be okay returning to that life? Lucy asked, her voice gentle but firm. If you could rebuild it? Joe's heart raced at the possibility. Part of me yearns for that. But another part fears what could happen if it doesn't work out again. What if I fail you again? What if that old picture becomes the only version of happiness I get? Tension filled the space between them, but Lucy wasn't letting go of his hand. Dad, you won't fail. Not if you let us in. Not again. He stared into her eyes, where compassion mixed with determination. It dawned on him then that facing the past with her could forge a new path forward. Just as he was about to respond, Jake approached, an easy smile on his face. Hey, you two. What are you plotting over here? With a breath of laughter, Lucy smiled brightly at Joe. Nothing we can't share, right? Joe glanced at Lucy, feeling the weight of possibility stir within him. Together, would they reveal everything? As Jake reached out, ready to break the tension, Joe felt a sudden wave of fear. Would sharing his full truth lead to acceptance or leave them both shattered? He was about to find out. Could they forge ahead, or would the truth of his past crush everything he'd hoped for? Jake's light-hearted approach melted some of the tension, but Joe couldn't shake the knot in his stomach. The music from the party picked up different now, a thumping beat that vibrated through the floor. Hey! Jake exclaimed, throwing an arm around Lucy's shoulders. Looks like you found a quiet moment in this madness. You ready to rejoin the fun? Interim chaos for some heart-to-heart, Lucy replied, her voice brightening despite the weight of their earlier conversation. But Dad has a lot to share. That so? Jake looked at Joe with an arch of his brow, a teasing smile on his face. What are you holding out on us? Joe chuckled, but his laughter felt hollow. Just contemplating old choices and what they cost me. Nothing too heavy. Seems pretty heavy for a wedding. Jake responded, slapping him on the back. Let us focus on happiness, right? We've got a lifetime of memories to make tonight. Lucy stepped back, a knowing look crossing her face. But, what if there are pieces of the past that could help us build a brighter future? Joe's heart swelled with gratitude for her courage. Her determination to mend the past was the very thing he feared. You're right, he admitted. But some pieces might be hard to swallow. The three of them lingered there for a moment, the bright laughter and clinking glasses still ringing in the air. Jake turned to Lucy, a glimmer of mischief in his eyes. How about we get him a drink? It might lighten the mood. Dad probably needs a little something to loosen up, huh? Wise guy, Joe huffed, the corner of his mouth twitching into a smile despite the serious conversation hanging above them. As they maneuvered their way through the crowd, Joe could feel the air shifting. Lucy's hand in his provided warmth, a reminder that he wasn't alone in this journey. Still, anxiety twisted within him. Each step toward the bar felt like navigating a tightrope, balancing between joy and fear of the revelations that would soon follow. We'll get through this, Dad, Lucy whispered, squeezing his hand. I want to let you carry this alone anymore. When they reached the bar, Joe ordered a whiskey, while Lucy opted for a sparkling water. Jake chatted up the bartender, while Joe's mind flickered with imagery his past failures, lost opportunities, and wonder about what lay ahead. Suddenly, the intention weighed on him like a stone. Lucy, he began, unsure how to say it. What if when I'm finally ready to share everything with you and Jake, it doesn't go as planned? What if instead of rekindling hope, I actually shock you? Lucy's eyes sparkled, but her expression turned serious. Dad. Listen. I don't expect you to have all the answers. I just want you to be honest. I need you to trust us, to believe we're a family. You're not dragging us into chaos, we're facing it together. Joe took a long sip of his whiskey and let her words wash over him. This wasn't just about reclaiming what was lost, it was about building something new, a connection born from transparency and shared struggle. As they returned to the crowded dance floor, he caught a glimpse of a younger couple laughing, a vivid reminder of a past he once thought he could reclaim. In that moment, clarity washed over him. It wasn't the past that defined him, it was the chance to create a future filled with resilience. Jake grinned, pulling Lucy to the dance floor. Come on, you two. Let us show them how to party. Joe felt a spark of excitement flash through him, igniting the tarnished dreams he thought were long gone. But just as the music crescendoed, his phone buzzed in his pocket, a reminder of that thin line he was walking. A notification flashed across the screen, a message from his old business partner. The past was reaching out again, ready to pull him back into the chaos. Would he answer it? Joe stood there, heart racing. The choice lay before him, a potential upheaval of everything he hoped could change. Joe could feel the weight of that message pressing down on him, each vibration resonating through every hopeful thought he'd just nurtured. He hesitated, fingers hovering over the screen. A year had passed since that phone call had dismantled everything he'd built, leaving only a scattered memory of lost dreams and broken ties. Jake's laughter drifted back to him, pulling him from his thoughts. He was joking with Lucy about something silly. Joe couldn't even catch the words, just the joy in their voices echoing against the loud backdrop of the celebration. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to slip the phone back into his pocket without reading the message. "Everything all right?" Lucy asked, eyeing him with concern, her brow furrowing slightly. Joe managed a smile, the strain on his heart lessening just a bit. "Yeah, just a lot on my mind." "Let it go," Jake chimed in, still swaying as he dance moved over to them. "You're at a wedding, let us focus on the here and now. There'll be time for all that later, right?" Lucy nodded but looked closely into his eyes, trying to read the feelings swirling within. "Do you want to talk?" She pressed gently. Not yet." The words took shape reluctantly. He wanted to share, to let her in, but the thought of dredging up the past felt like unearthing a grave. "Okay," she said softly, clearly disappointed but understanding. "Just know I'm here when you're ready." As they stepped back into the rhythm of the evening, the momentary cloud lifted, and Joe found a flicker of joy. Jake insisted on teaching Lucy a few dance steps, their laughter mixing with the pulsing beats. He watched them, pride swelling within him. They were so full of life, untouched by the feelings that gnawed at him, but the gnawing sensation crept back when he spotted a familiar face across the room. It was an old business associate, a figure heavily tied to his turbulent past, one he hadn't expected to see that night. Their eyes met, and Joe felt the air shift again, thickening with unspoken words and memories. The man gave a slight nod, a haunting reminder of ships sinking before they could set sail. "Hey, let us get into the spirit a little more, huh?" Jake pulled him back into the present. He threw an arm around Joe's shoulder, leading him toward the makeshift dance floor, where the celebratory energy was infectious. The music pulsed through him, drawing him into the crowd, but the sight of the past lingered like smoke. The moment Lucy laughed and spun around, he caught a glimpse of her genuine happiness. Could he risk shattering this fragile joy with his burdens? For a moment, he lost himself in the dancing, trying to push the doubts away. Each turn and twist provided a temporary escape, a space where fear held no reign. But the phone buzzed again, this time a vibration that felt almost like a threat. "Might as well check it, Dad," Jake said with a teasing nudge, cracking him out of the moment before making a silly dance move. Joe sighed, his resolve cracking like a dam. Could he truly face what lay beyond that screen? As Lucy caught his eye again, smiling so brightly, his heart clenched. If one moment could shatter, would it be hers? Would the revelation hidden within those messages alter everything they had started to build? And suddenly, in the chaos of voices and laughter, he realized something powerful. The path to healing didn't run parallel to his past, it required facing it head-on. He found himself at a crossroad, trapped between the comfort of silence and the daunting power of truth. An avalanche of emotions hinged on the choice he was about to make. Was he ready to unveil everything, or would he wallow in the shadows of regret once again? With a deep breath, he reached for his phone, the screen lighting up as his heart raced with the courage he had yet to embrace. The message awaited him, and with it, a potential that could change everything. And just as he was about to press the notification, a sudden commotion broke out. Someone had tripped, sending a cascade of drinks splashing across the floor, inviting laughter and chaos. Back into the mix, Joe paused, caught in the moment a fleeting second of clarity before diving into the depths of the unknown. Would he step into the light, or would he remain in the shadows, forever carrying the weight of what could have been? As the chaos unfolded around him, Joe's heart raced, absorbed by the moment. He glanced at Lucy, her laughter merging with the music, intoxicating him with sheer joy. This was her night filled with her dreams and hopes, and he was determined to protect that glow, to keep anything dark from dulling her shine. The spills, the clinks of glasses, the shouts of good-natured teasing, it felt like a shield that held off his worries for just a while longer. Let us savor this, he thought, slipping the phone back into his pocket without checking the message. For now, he would let the party wash over him like a warm wave while the weight of secrets swayed gently on the shore. As the night unfolded, Joe danced alongside Lucy and Jake, allowing himself to be swept up in their laughter and the bright energy of the celebration. Music filled the air, the chorus of happiness fueling a fire within him. He surrendered the shadows for laughter, losing himself in the orbit of their joy. He danced for Lucy, for her future, and for the newfound connection they had begun to build. A few dances later, they collapsed into a cluster of chairs just off the dance floor, laughter bubbling like champagne. Joe looked at the radiant faces around him, friends, family, all celebrating love. And there, too, was Lucy, her eyes sparkling, the embodiment of everything he had wished for her to be. "You see that?" she whispered, nodding toward the couple twirling under the fairy lights. "That's love." "Yeah," he breathed, feeling his heart swell. "It sure is." Lucy turned to him, suddenly serious. "You know, Dad, while this is all beautiful, I want you to know I'm still right here, waiting for you to share everything. I don't want you to feel like you have to battle this alone." Her words, pure and gentle, resonated deep within him, lifting heaviness, uncovering a layer of warmth he had kept locked away. Joe looked into her eyes, seeing the encouragement there. She believed in him, even when he faltered in self-belief. In that gaze, he found courage, enough to face his fears and let them unfurl. "Don't think I don't see you," he started, his voice low. "I want to be there for you, but I also want you to know the whole man behind the father. Sometimes, it's hard to admit that I've stumbled. I've carried these burdens far too long." But Lucy, ever the light in his shadows, smiled. "Then let us march forward. Let us step into the light together." Time slipped forward, ticked away by laughter and memories crafted new in the now. As guests found their way to dance around them, Joe glanced back at the message notification on his phone, a last whisper of temptation. He took a breath, steadying himself. It was time that in a bold rush, he stood. "Hey, can I grab you both for a moment?" He directed the question at Lucy and Jake, who turned attention to him readily, eyebrows raised in curiosity. The lively chatter hushed further, and anticipation thrummed through the air like electricity. "Sure, what's up?" Jake asked, his friendly smile still plastered on. Lucy's attention honed in, a flicker of concern passing over her face. Joe inhaled deeply, feeling the moment solidify in time. "I've kept too many things from you, and tonight, I want to share a path I've been on, a road of mishaps and mistakes." A ripple of murmurs swept through the room, as family and friends drew close, sensing the shift in energy. Joe began speaking, his heart racing but steadying with each syllable. "I've made choices in the past that hurt me and those I love. It's been a struggle to stand on my own without revealing the truth." As he shared his story, he noticed faces around him fill with understanding and compassion. Stories of ups and downs spilled forth, familiar echoes of life bound them tighter as a family. He felt Lucy's grip on his hand, it anchored him, giving him strength as he confessed the depths of his hidden struggles. He talked about the fortune he had meant to use for her, not solely as a safety net but as a means to connect them more deeply. Each moment spent unveiling truths brought lightness, washing away old burdens and releasing tension that had long pressed on his chest. A hush settled as he spoke, a soft heart-stirring melody that held the crowd's attention. When he finished, it felt as if they all held a collective breath that finally escaped into lightness, the air thick with possibility as honesty bloomed like a spring flower. "Dad," Lucy stepped forward, tears glistening with a brilliant joy mingled with pride. "You're still my hero, flaws and all. This means the world to me." Joe responded with a radiant smile. Joy and relief swirled within him, lighting a deeper sense of hope. Jake chimed in, "And we're here, no matter what uncharted waters lay ahead. Together, we'll navigate through it." The room erupted into applause, but Joe felt a warmth spread over him, a sense of acceptance that chased away the dark edges of doubt. For the first time, he felt completely free. As laughter surged back into the atmosphere, the music swelled, lifting spirits even higher. He realized they had only begun to write the next chapter, a story filled with challenges and adventures yet to come, but sharper now in clarity and love. Together, we can face anything, Joe whispered, looking at his daughter and her new husband, as they embraced the moment before them. That night, under a sky shimmering with stars of their own making, they celebrated not just a union of love but a transformation of hearts bound by truths embraced. And through it all, Joe discovered the most incredible fortune wasn't hidden within gold or treasure. It was in the laughter, the tears, and the resilient love that bloomed generously among them, an everlasting legacy they would carry forward, one authentic moment at a time. Now, it's your turn to build connections with honesty and love. Don't hold back, show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. We want to know how you felt. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.